everyone, Brad back here with the B-side. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. Tonight is the next character in our obscure Marvel characters or obscure comic book characters thing, because the Eraser wasn't Marvel, he was DC. But this one is Marvel again. This one is mostly from Howard the Duck. He's a character named Doctor Bong. Doctor Bong. And no, he's not a doctor of marijuana use. He's actually a dude with a bell for a head. I think it's a helmet, but we can't be sure. I've learned a lot about Dr. Bong today, and we're going to be we're going to be looking at some of the things that we can kind of try and incorporate into this character. First of all, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Ram, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? Andrew, thanks so much for hanging out tonight. I see that you're a Howard the Duck guy, so you know who Dr. Bong is. That's good. That's good. So at least I guess it's one of those things where he's obscure to me, and I as far as I know, he has I know nothing about him. But I can't be sure whether it's just because of me or not. So I just ordered a comic book from Comixology that has him in there, so I can see what's up. Because like with a lot of these characters that we're doing, because they're obscure, there's not a whole lot of like artwork that I could kind of get a really solid idea about the character, which is kind of the fun part, because it gives me a chance to kind of play a little bit. Tony Gore, are you teaching tonight? If you're not teaching tonight, why aren't you in here? I'm not sure. So if you're not teaching tonight, Tony, Tony was going to come, I think, on last night, but we had a little bit of a mix-up where we forgot that the West Coast is way after us. Oh, he's teaching. See, Tony, you gotta stop that teaching stuff, man. Retire, for goodness sake. That's okay. I'm gonna be sculpting a bell-shaped head mostly tonight. I'm gonna be focusing mostly on the head. I have no idea. Yeah, Tony was again. Tony and I both we really love to kind of jump in and crash the Digital Forge with Ian, but because he's on the West Coast, when he starts, Tony and I probably have both already been sleeping for several hours. So that's not gonna happen until maybe the summer, when time ceases to matter. So what's up, Nino? Thanks so much for showing up and hanging out. I want to kind of give, before I jump into playing around with Dr. Bong. His name is Dr. Bong. Anyway, before I do that, well, first of all, say hi to everyone. This is Bucky, and he's going to try and jump on my lap right as I'm about to get up and do stuff. But let's have a little recap of where we are and where we start, because we start again. The B-side started not too long ago in terms of doing the obscure comic book characters thing, probably about 2 months ago, I'm guessing. And so let's just kind of show where we've come. And I wanted to say this. I'm really thankful and grateful to you guys for hanging out with me and kind of give me a chance to kind of play around with this kind of stuff, because I probably wouldn't be sculpting these unless I got to kind of keep working on it and kind of show it when I'm done. Sweetie Manic, what's up, bud? Yeah, even an hour. Okay, good. I gotta make sure I make it worth your while then if you're sticking around. So the first one that I did for real, I mean, I think I did one called Captain Ultra as kind of an initiating thing, but the first one I did for real was a character called the Jack of Hearts, right? And this was the first one that I did. I had never heard of the Jack of Hearts before. I thought it was kind of goofy looking in terms of his outfit. And that's the first one that we did. And that one was also, again, the idea was to take these characters that were kind of silly in some form or just obscure, and then kind of give them the full treatment where we kind of, I try and make it as extremely detailed as possible, and then print them out. So this is what Jack of Hearts looks like. And again, this is all because of you guys hanging out with me on the B-side. It kind of gives me some motivation here. So here is the actual printed version of the Jack of Hearts, right? So we have, full on. This guy is not fooling around. We did a Jack of Hearts again. On the B-side, we did a comp of him that I just showed you, where he had this kind of like a swirly pink thing happening here and the little kind of like stuff on his hands. So this is the actual finished print, right? And this is, again, thanks to you guys hanging out with me and giving me some motivation to kind of try out these ridiculous characters here. So I'm going to put him back for a second, but there's the comp of him. Another reason why I want to show these is because it's only a matter of time before my cats knock them over and destroy them. Andrew, it was crazy to paint, and don't look too closely because so so after Jack of Hearts, if you remember, and how could you forget? Because we're talking about the single greatest character in Marvel history, which the second character we did was Paste Pot Pete, who kind of looks something like this, right? This was Paste Pot Pete. This was my version of him anyway, and this one was going to be tricky as a print, really, just because of it was big and the trying to kind of get everything to kind of balance okay, and the hose and all that kind of stuff. And if you remember, I was going to do the hose out of like a silicone tube, but then I realized that wasn't a good idea because something needs to hold that bucket up, because the bucket was just going to be glued to that little thin handle, which was not a good idea in the long term. So I had to use I had to kind of print out the tubes to be essentially part of the scaffolding to hold the bucket up. So let me go get him because I just finished him today. Very, 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 very psyched about the way Paste Pot Pete showed up. So here is Paste Pot Pete in all of his glory. It looks a little too blown out in the light here, but yeah, this is him with his little bucket. And you can see, like, so basically the tube was printed out in three parts. This part here, where you see the tape, that's where they connect, right? And then I kind of like glued the tube to this big bit of glue here. I also glued it to the side of his leg, so now the bucket is kind of supported as opposed to just kind of floating around, right? So he came out pretty good. He had lots of little stitching on him, which was a real pain to do. But really, really love this guy. I'm just really happy with the way gets nice little dynamic thing going on here. So again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and giving me kind of the motivation to do this stuff. And also, I get to show this off before my cats break it. So the last one that we did right before this Dr. Bong was the eraser, right? If you remember, the eraser was my the I don't think this is the final version. I'm not really sure, but let me just bring this up here. So this was kind of, this is where we ended up kind of with this guy. Let me turn on live Boolean so we actually see his thing. But yeah, this is where we ended up, and he is now been printed out. And he is now, waiting to get painted. So he is now completely printed out and ready to go. That's going to be an interesting paint job. Theoretically, it shouldn't be a crazy paint job because it's mostly just a yellow suit with black pinstripes, but the pinstripes can be tricky. So yeah, so he is now ready to go. Very excited. So again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and kind of giving me the motivation to finish these things, because otherwise I don't think it would have happened. So thank you guys. Oh, thanks 3D Matic. Thanks, Andrew. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah, that was the print itself. That was printed out on that D2 printer, the Anycubic D2, which uses like the mirrors, I think, as opposed to the LED screen. And it's just so crazy good. It's so, like you said, it's so clean. Like there's literally no cleanup at all. The things just fall off. I don't know if you can tell, but like he actually does have little shoelaces here, which somehow survive. Thanks, Nuno. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, I'm. Now I had two options for Andrew. For Andrew, I had two options for the eraser. I had one that was like kind of used a little bit, but I think I wanted the original one here. But yeah, like the print came out nice and clean, so hopefully the paint job will be as well. But again, I keep bringing this up, but I just want to keep thank you guys for kind of hanging out with me and kind of giving me the motivation to do this. So all that stuff is going to be, and again, those are the ones that I want to hang out, I keep in my room, in my office, because they're the ones that are the most fun. I don't know, because they're so weird. So Dr. Bong, let's talk about Dr. Bong. Let's get to know Dr. Bong. So again, I don't know much about. So what I've read about him is that he started out, he was bullied as a kid, as all supervillains must have been. But he was an investigative reporter for various tabloids, but then eventually decided to become a scientific genius and supervillain, as one does. I mean, it's pretty much a straight shot, right? Thanks, Ram. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, guys. Um, Dr. Bong. So he ended up he was doing an investigative journalism thing with a punk rock band, and somehow during the concert he accidentally got his left hand chopped off. So his left hand is a big gold orb or globe or something. Um, so we're gonna take a. I'm gonna show you again. This like there's not a lot of pictures I found that are really awesome, awesomely helpful. But this is this is one, right? Dude's got a bell for a head. He's got this ball on his arm. Um, and at some point, he also became a psychologist. And one of his patients was Deadpool. So, but he was apparently obsessed with, and not in a good way, obsessed with Howard the Duck's girlfriend. I forget her name. Beverly? No, is it Beverly? Yeah, Beverly Switzler. He had a very unhealthy obsession with her. So there's a lot like these. There's a few different pictures of him, right? And they all have a very different impression of the way his face looks. Um, so like this one kind of feels almost like gladiatorial, right? Uh, and then this one just looks like a face was drawn on a bell. Um, this one just looks like a face was drawn on a bell. So this one is just a face that kind of like has a bell attached to it. So, and this one here I kind of dig. I like the Deadpool one quite a bit. I like this kind of, it's almost like, it almost feels like Megatron. So it got a little bit more of, he's got kind of an expression on there. He's got a bit more of a brow and kind of some facial features, but it's not coming at the expense of the bell shape. And that's kind of the tricky thing for me. I think is try and find a way to make this into a face that's got a bell shape to it. But I don't want it to be like that, where it's literally a face they kind of attach the bell to. And I don't want it to be like this, where it's just the bell they attach the face to. So I have to kind of find that middle ground. And this is kind of the one that I think has the most going for it in terms of just a little hint of a decent balance between the two of those. But who knows? Who knows? But the text, the image I'm going to bring in just as reference is not that one. It's this one. I don't know why I kind of dig this, but it's a little bit just like a bell with a face on it, but it's got some interesting stuff on it. And the way the jaw looks here is kind of neat. It kind of feels like almost like that whole bottom part is part of the jaw. So that's why I said like at the beginning of the stream, this might be largely a head sculpt for tonight, until I get that likeness the way I like it. Maybe lots of fits and starts and, starting over. So again, just, warning here. And then, the body is not overly complicated, I don't think. So I think that'll be a nice kind of like next stream. But so this is just my starting point here is to try and find that balance between a face and the bell not being too much of one or the other, right? So that is my big challenge here, is to try and find that. So I'm gonna kind of have this off the side too, because I kind of like this. I don't want to forget that there's again, the main thing I like about this is the brows feel a little bit heavier, the nose feels a little bit more, but I really kind of dig this idea of like this big jaw down here. So we don't know. Yeah, it's got a very Dr. Doomy feel for sure. Yo, what's up, Gus? Oh, Gus, I saw that you got the cami. That looks awesome, man. That really looks. You can definitely tell how much time was put into that sculpt, man. It's beautiful. So what I'm going to do now, again, I'm going to start with a basic shape, and I'm going to start with a sphere. So I'm going to my this is a Dynamesh sphere. I'm going to turn Dynamesh off. Yeah, Gus. Again, seriously, man, that sculpt is awesome. Are you going to paint it? Like, is that something that you like to do? Because there are so many things I still feel like I can't figure out. I can't figure out skin. Faces always look splotchy. Whenever I see someone do stuff like, oh, okay, I'll try that, and then it looks like they have some sort of skin condition. So I have so much trouble with that. One of the reasons I like the fact that I'm doing the eraser next. He has no face, and this guy too, no face. We're good. So with this guy here, I'm going to swap it out with my gear. I'm going to swap it out for this polysphere, just because, again, I don't want to have the pole on the top, and this is a pretty decent place to start. And I'm going to just kind of basically shape this roughly into a bell as best I can, right? So I'm going to go to my gear, and go back to my gizmo. And the first thing I'm going to do is just chop off the bottom half. I don't need the bottom half at all. Dude, that's exactly how I feel. Whenever I paint something, and that's one of the problems I have with painting, or anything that's practical, anything where you don't have the ability to just save. Like the bummer of non-digital stuff is that I'm so like once I get to a point where I don't hate it, I'm so worried about messing it up that I kind of stop. And that's not always, that's not necessarily fulfilling because oh, I might want to try this, but if I did that, I might ruin it. And that is the problem, especially if I don't have confidence at all in my painting. So once I get something that looks passable, I either stop or I try it knowing full well that I'm going to ruin it, and then I ruin it. So there's no winning there. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm just going to start with this as the top part and just do a quick little extrude. And you can extrude the I'm going to turn on double side so I can see this. You can extrude the edges, obviously. And Ram, I am not printing out Paste Pot Pete ever again. That was a lot. He was big. He was a lot bigger than I thought. That glue, those two glue bases, man, that was big. I barely fit in the printer. What I'm going to do is, instead of extruding these edges down, even though you can, for some reason I don't love doing that. Like I don't feel like I can control it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Z modeler brush and I'm going to do a close. I'm going to close this with a convex hole. I got to make sure I delete hidden first. And then I'm just going to Control Shift Tap on this and make it one poly group by hitting Control W. That way now I can just extrude these faces. I don't know. yeah. I don't think there's going to be a big demand for Paste Pot Pete statues, which means I will have the only Paste Pot Pete statue probably in the entire world, which is not so bad. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to extrude this whole thing out. I think I'm just going to basically extrude the whole thing, extrude the whole poly group, and then just kind of add some edges to kind of get some shape to it. It's just, to me, that's just the easiest way to go here, is just to kind of basically make a bell shape and then try to kind of get some edges here. In fact, what I might do is actually maybe smooth. Symmetry turned on. Let me turn on rate. I wonder if it's going to work. Before I want to add a couple edge loops here. So let's go here and go to insert multiple edge loops. I'm not going to insert many yet because I want to kind of have a little bit more control over the shape. So I'm just going to grab maybe those two here for now. Then I'm going to go to scale edge loop complete and just start kind of scaling them out a little bit. I'm going to slide this whole edge loop down to about there, and maybe do the same thing here. Now I'm going to just add an edge loop right here, just to kind of, again, just trying to get roughly the shape here. And I'm going to isolate. I'm going to mask that bottom part off, maybe even mask off this whole thing right here. And I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to go here to transform. I'm going to go to activate symmetry and just go to radial, and just hold down shift and see. Oh, right, I have this texture in, but I didn't go to samples and turn that off. I was wondering why nothing was working. This little blend here. Oh, not too much there. I want to keep this rounded part up top here a little bit, but I just want to get a little bit more of a nice curvature there. All right. Dude, I have become a convert to Z modeler. Like I love what it can do. It can do so much. It's just so cool. All right, so now again, obviously there's not a lot of points here for any kind of facial sculpting, and I actually probably think that I want this to be wider. So I'm gonna hold down I'm gonna turn off symmetry for a second. I'll hold down Alt and then scale up everything but the height, just to kind of get this a little bit wider, and then maybe I want to scale up just the height. I want the proportions to be a little bit better there. I think that'll be okay. So now I think, and again, I don't think I need to remesh or anything. I mean, this is very, very straightforward in terms of the overall edge flow, and I'm not I'm not afraid in this case to really subdivide like a crazy person to get this. I don't want this to feel organic, right? Because it's metal, and so I don't think that I'll be doing often if I'm doing something organic. You know, I'll sculpt a little bit here and there, just with. Come on now. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong side. I'll sculpt a little bit here and there, just with low res like this, just to kind of get myself started. But I think because it's supposed to be like essentially made from metal, I kind of just need to have nice hard edges and kind of work that way. At least that's my plan. So first thing I want to do is, before I do any subdividing, I need to make sure this edge stays nice and sharp, which of course, you could crease it, which is probably the best way to do that at this point. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bevel this edge. I think it'll just kind of, it'll give me a little bit less of a hard edge there. And also, just by doing that, you actually add two edges there, right? So it'll automatically give it a little bit more of a ridge. And now now this edge down here, again, this is solid right now. Again, I'm going to be printing it, so it makes sense to kind of keep it solid. Obviously, it's a Bell. Apparently, too, I was reading up on him, and apparently this Bell helmet can do lots of things when struck. It can ring and disorient his opponent, or I think I just read it could also occasionally teleport him. Dr. Bong. So what I'm going to do with this one here is I'm going to do another bevel just to kind of keep that. But I'm also just going to go back to insert and just add an edge loop here, just to kind of keep that edge. I'm going to add one probably here too as well, but not yet, because if I do end up smoothing it, it'll just go away and then there's no point. So I might just end up creasing it. But for now, this is probably okay. All right, so what do I want to do with this guy? So where are the eyes and so for the mouth? So again, obviously the mouth is probably going to be right around here. The eyes are probably going to be right here. And I'm probably going to find, I can almost tell that I'm going to need more. I'm going to need more in this guy. So I'm going to use my deformer here. I'm just going to start shaping this a little bit more. I just feel that that was a mistake. I just, why? Okay. Oh yeah, right. I just feel like this is going to be a guy where I'm constantly trying to adjust the proportions of the head, such as it is. Just because I feel like I'm going to be like, I still don't have enough room. So I'm just going to scale this whole guy out. And then just pull this whole thing up a little bit. I feel like I'm going to be constantly doing this, but we'll see. All right. Is he really? Is he the kryptonite symbiote Spider-Man? That's interesting. See, that's the thing. Like when I was reading about him, and it said, oh right, because of the bell. See, I got this. I was going to say, but that's not even like that might even be a thing for all I know. Like because he interacted with She-Hulk and Deadpool and Howard the Duck. Like these are not ones I typically think of as crossing over, but maybe they do. But that's true. Yes. Anything that's right. And is the symbiote Spider-Man a version to sound like that? Is that just a Sam Raimi movie, or is that like something in the comics too? Because I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. Someone needs to tell me about this. All right, so I'm going to go to my basic material here. That feels very bright. And again, I'm just going to start adding some points. So I am going to come down here and just crease this edge, just because, again, I'm going to start subdividing pretty early on, and crease edge loop, I should say, because there's not much, in my mind, to be gained by sculpting on a low res for this guy. Oh, it wasn't the comics as well? Okay. Yeah, because I wonder if that, like, what started what, whether the comics took it from Raimi or vice versa. So I'm just going to start subdividing. Like I said, I don't think I need to worry too much about like, oh, I better wait until, nah. Now I am going to go also, let's go up here to radial symmetry just for a second, so I can kind of adjust this shape a little bit here. Radial symmetry is awesome for stuff like this. One thing you want to remember too, if you are using radial symmetry like this, and this is probably something you know, but I didn't, like you want to make sure that when you're shaping it, do it right here on the edge. Because if you do it like somewhere in the middle here and you go left and right, it's going to get twisty, right? So just keep that in mind, because I kind of didn't know that, at least not until it's too late. So again, like I said, this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to be messing around with the proportions forever, but it's all right. All right. So let's come in here now and figure out exactly what I want to do. I really like this look, if I'm being honest. And he's got kind of, again, he's got kind of a triangular set of eyes here, kind of like this, right? And he's got this kind of the nose here, and then jaw come up and back, right? I'm going to maybe not use that version of the nose, though. I think this nose coming in like this is better. Because he is ridiculous looking. So, oh, no, he's called Doctor Bong. Yeah. The Bellz-a-Poppin. See, that was the best I could do. That was the best I could do when it came to titles. I tried surprisingly a surprisingly large number of ideas for that thumbnail. I'm not gonna lie. All right, so I think again, here I go again. I'm just going to like really mess with this shape. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm just going to stick with this for now. I'm going to go back again. Sometimes I should just stop. What's up, Angry Monday? How you doing, man? And that's the thing. Like you never know, right? Like because they're all just so ridiculous. All right. So let's bring this up a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to go back to regular old symmetry here, and I'm just going to stick with this. I'm going to stick with this. So I'm going to subdivide to a pretty high amount. Because I want to kind of like, again, I want these brows and stuff to be a little bit more intense. And I want to try something. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to go here to my, what's this called? The scribe chisel brush, right? So the way this brush works is, you know, by default, it's a curved brush, and you drag it out, and it kind of carves in like this. Now, if you hold down Alt as you drag it out, right, it'll kind of pull out like this, which is kind of a cool thing to do if you're looking to kind of get this kind of not indentation, extentation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my stroke and go to my curve modifiers. I'm going to adjust this curve fall off a little bit so that it's, come back. Let's reset this. I want this to kind of go from wide to narrow, kind of like this. If this will work like that. So I'm going to hold down Alt and then bring this in like that. And I think I can adjust last a little bit here. Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I want, but I need to have more points, and I need to have this brush be a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna hold down Alt. There you go. So that's kind of a cool way, I think, to kind of get like a really like clean and like hard-edged. Again, I'm gonna call it extentation. I know that's not what it is, but that's what I'm gonna call it. Okay, and that way I can kind of when I move brush and just kind of like, you know, bring this down. But like it's a kind of a cool way to kind of really get like hard-edged parts. I'm sure there's a better way of putting it, but that's how I'm going to do it. Okay, and now again, so that way I can just kind of come in here and with my mask, I'm going to go to my mask pen, I guess, and just mask out where my new eyes are going to go. So ignore those because those clearly are no longer relevant. I knew that was going to happen, but I was just trying to get a feel for the proportions. So I'm going to come in here and give myself a little bit of an eye shape, which I'm now going to adjust with my lasso. So I'm going to go to my mask lasso here and Control and Alt and pretty much just come through and chop off what I don't want, like that. Control Shift Tap to invert. I mean, sorry, to sharpen that mask. I think that's kind of what I want, kind of like this. And I'm just going to kind of invert that mask and just kind of, I'm just going to push that in for now. Actually, you know what? Instead of using the move brush, which is not very exact, let's just go to the move tool and just bring that back in there, right? Because I think what I'm going to end up doing is making the actual eyes themselves separate geometry, like not just the eyes, but the eyes and the little bit around the eyes, like the eyelid area. That way I can kind of like work on the expression a little bit without having to worry about messing up the actual face, right? So I think just doing something like this, and again, just for funsies, let's take a look at how it looks when it's gold. All right, so that's kind of what I want to use that. I want to use that technique if I can in certain areas, that scribe chisel brush, just because I think it's kind of a cool way to sculpt hard edges, right? That's kind of hard to do sometimes, at least for me. I lose, you know, so I'm just going to go back down and just start lightly smoothing out these little lines because they're still there, and it's just weird. But I have a feeling that this face is just going to be a very, very high res thing that doesn't have a lot going on, but it just needs to be high res so that everything looks, you know, okay. I don't know how this is going to work. By the way, I should quick save or something. Do a quick little clay polish, right? Clay polish is a really cool little thing. You can't see it because my stupid face is in the way, but if I increase sharp a little bit and then do a polish, it'll do a nice little polish over top. You get like a mask out of that for some reason, but that'll be a nice little way, again, to kind of retain or to maintain some of those sharp edges if you need to. A little H polish just to kind of clean up a little bit here. But I think that'll work. I'm going to come down here if I need to and just kind of adjust this. And I need to remember that this is a bell, which means I can't just move it up and down. I kind of have to move it like around a little bit. All right, so for the nose, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Again, like I mentioned, this feels almost like Megatron to a certain extent, and I might actually kind of like really incorporate that into the shape of the nose. Because in the other one here, it's almost like almost like a triangular thing. So yeah. I might end up just making this a whole separate piece, or not. Let's see. Let's give it a shot. I don't know. We'll give it a shot. So I'm gonna go here to my mask curve. Love the mask curve, and I'm just going to kind of come to it right about there. That is not. Is that the highest I have? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go up even higher. I'm sorry. I'm at 2 million already. I barely started. This is exactly what I tell my students never to do. I'm gonna do this. Maybe do a little of this. And we'll see how this, in terms of like the width of the nose, we'll see what this needs to look like here. Mask curve on high-res meshes can take some time. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit less and a little bit less steep there. All right, and then we're going to come across here. All right. So what I'm planning here is something that will most likely not work. And I say that a lot, but it's usually true. And what I'm going to try to do is basically just rotate this out. I just don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll see. I'm going to go here, go back to my mask lasso and just lash out that little part in the back. So let's see if this works or not. Let's do my move tool. All right. Control tap right there, and then just rotate this out a little bit like this. Maybe even scale it back a little bit like so. Okay, just do a little. Now, if I run a clay polish on this, it does a pretty decent job of kind of cleaning that part up. But I get these weird edges. That's just because it's just the nature of the beast, right? Because that's just the way the mesh is. So I'm not sure I like that. I might be able to work with it. I don't know. We'll see. But we get some really great. I don't know why it's getting so weird like that. Oh, you know why? I can tell you why. Because when you do clay polish, you get a mask, and there's a mask on there. Okay, well, that makes sense. But I think this might work. I just wanted to get like the nose shape in there without it feeling too like it was sculpted. I'm not sure. The question is just, is the shape the right shape? And what is the right shape? Something like that. Let's try clay polish here, see if that helps a little bit to that mask off. All right. I mean, I think that's workable. The trick now is going to be this mouth. And I really want this to look kind of like this. I really think that's kind of a cool thing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm afraid to try. All right. So anyway, let's try this. So let's go back down one level here. I'm going to go back to my mask curve. And let's just try this. So I don't really know if this is the best way to do it. Learning this as I go. I just need to go up a level here. We're going to wait. That was silly. I shouldn't have tried that. That was dumb. That was dumb. That was dumb. That was dumb. Yeah, live bullying for the mouth would make the most sense. I think that you're absolutely right about that. I think, yeah, I think I might do that. That's definitely a much better approach than what I was doing. Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do live bullying for the mouth. Okay. So let's bring in a shape here. Insert a cube. Yeah, definitely. I think a better idea. I'm going to drop exchange this for a regular old polycube, so I can get my my little, what's that thing called? My cube? Yeah, my cube. All right. So, dude, I can't even talk anymore. So let's just bring this thing not that way, you fool. All right. So let's bring that in right. The width of this mouth looks like it goes to about right here. I'm looking at these guys. And then let's go here and just, oh, stupid mask. Okay, let's grab it. Let's turn on symmetry, mask out these guys, invert. Let's move this out a little bit here. And I don't need any of these, so I'm going to get rid of all these edge loops here. Who needs them? I'm going to go here to my, mask this out. Scale this in just a little bit. And now, I don't need these edges either. Now I'm just going to hold down Alt and tab these two guys and extrude these up. And obviously we need to adjust that a little bit. Oh, turn on symmetry. Let's just bring this where it needs to go, right about here. This needs to be adjusted just a touch. Okay, and now we're going to bring this guy down. And like this. And just grab this guy and extrude that out as well. And then just bring this where it needs to go, kind of like this. Rotate it a little bit. And we're going to bring these all in a touch. I could just use the Move Infinite Depth brush instead of masking all these little points. But let's go here and do a quick deformer. Turn symmetry back on. Now I'm going to use Move Infinite Depth because saying I should use it and then not using it is just being stubborn. Let's pull that in. Let's just mask out these outside guys for a second so I can pull that in and pull that in. All right, yeah, good call, Jackie, good call. And now let's squash this a little bit. I'm going to give this some edge loops here, multiple edge loops, just so that, not this way, I'm an idiot, this way. Because I just want to see if it helps to bend this around a little bit, right? So let's go here to bend arc and see about giving it a little bit of a bend like that so that it kind of conforms a little bit better to the bell. Yeah, that'll be fine, I think. Might need to angle it back a little bit too. Down a little bit. Feel that this needs to kind of scrunch in. Let's just see how that looks. Let's go here. I'm going to fill that with black. Turn on light boolean, turn it to a negative. And I'm just going to change this color a little bit because I can't see what's what. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that'll work really well for that. I just need to adjust it a little bit, I think, in terms of exactly what I'm getting. But I think that that's definitely the way to go. The Mazinger Z. I don't know what that is. What is that? So what I need to do is adjust this. I'm going to bring this back a little bit here. Because he looks like he's smiling. I don't look like he's smiling. I wonder if the smiling, though, is because of the eyes. It might be because of the eyes. Nah, I think it's the smile. All right, so let's go to this here. But this is definitely, I think, the way to do it. So I'm going to go back to before I bent it, before I did the bendy thing, just because that way I can more easily change the shape a little bit while I'm working at it. But this is what I'm going to do. I think what I need to do is what I would like to do. I would like to find a way, if it's possible, to somehow work in a jaw, though. I mean, I know it looks like there's no jaw there, and it probably isn't. But I think I'm going to try the live bullying in a couple different ways here. Oh, it's anime. See, I don't know anything about that. Like, for some reason, maybe it's my age. Maybe it's when that stuff came out. Like, it passed me by. Like, it's completely just passed me by. And for no reason. Like, it just happened to, I just think that's somehow it just, like, I was never like in the time to get to be exposed to it. Yeah, it's weird. It's a lot of my student stuff. I love it and talk about it all the time, and I just have never I guess it was, yeah, I just never interacted with it. It wasn't by choice. It was just what happened. What I need to do, I think, before I do too much with the mouth, I'm going to, I want the eyes to be, I want to kind of get a feel for the eyes. And you can see here in the eyes here, these are just the eye sockets. These are actually the eyes. So I'm going to actually kind of give myself a better clue as to how the face looks first. So I'm going to just go here and let's just insert a couple spheres on the mouth here, which is not subdivided. So I can go ahead and do that. Just insert a couple of these little spheres here. And this, again, this is going to be, this looks hilarious. This is going to be the eye sockets, basically the skin, so to speak, in which the eyes exist, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm gonna make these eye socket-y things here. So let's just bring this, because I need to have a feeling for what the eyes are doing, I think, before I get before I feel like I know what's going on with the mouth. So this is going to be basically the face, for lack of a better term, that the eyes are going to be in. All right. Now I'm just going to do one side and then just mirror it over, because I think what I'm going to end up doing here is some slice curving. Nope, wrong button. All right, so something like this. Maybe not exactly like that, but something like that. And again, this is just one of those things where it's probably taking more time, but I think we're okay. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I don't really need to get rid of it. Technically speaking, I could just extrude that in. Would that work? I mean, I know it's got some weird geometry here, but yeah, weird geometry. Okay, so let's just remesh this really fast. Let's see if we can keep this looking good though. Remesh, keep groups, don't smooth the groups. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so let's see. A giant robot called Transor Z in the US. Transor Z. All right. Still have not yet. That is not, I mean, I've never heard of that. It sounds like it'd be something that would, like, it should also be a show. Like something that would be on like in the afternoons. So I'm just going to, I'm extruding this group in just to kind of push it back and then scale it in so that it's way back here, because I don't really care a whole lot how that looks. Let's just go to crease here. I'm going to crease this polygroups and bevel it a little bit. It's crease, oh, nope, crease polygroups. There you go. Now I'll bevel it just a little bit. Oh, thanks so much for hanging out, 3D Manic Man. I hope you have a good day. So this is going to be regular old material, dark material. I'm going to fill this, right? And then I'll go back to gold for everything else. I just need to make sure that it shows up where it needs to show up here. What am I seeing here? Oh, that's all I'm seeing. Okay, so this stupid green just needs to go a little bit further back. And then the scale. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to put eyes in there anyway, but you know, okay. So this is going to be kind of my holder for the eyes, roughly. And it's just mirror and weld. Turn off local sim first, so it mirrors and welds across the actual thing. Turn on symmetry, and then I'll just make sure I fill that. I'm going to go with white now. It looks like, and I'm going to go with like a sketch shading material for this, and then bring in a couple spheres really fast. Zoop. Let's fill that. Go to my material and just turn off the cavity detection, because I don't want that. I just want it to look, again, this material, I just want it to be basically almost like a flat shader. So that's really the idea there. I'll go back to the gold for everything else. I'm going to pop this in here. So at least now, if I have something like this, I can conceivably adjust the black eyelid parts to kind of convey more of an expression. And I feel like what's happening here is I just need to push this stuff back a little bit here too. Let's go back to my mask pen for this, I suppose. But a little bit of the gold. I should have pushed it further back. I always do that. I always like when I push eye sockets in, I'm like, you know what, I could push them a little bit further, but that should be enough. It's never enough. Let's just push this way back. Let's not leave anything to chance here. There you go. Okay. So now I can go back to this guy here and go back to the black part. Did I never split those off? I never split those off. Oy, some people. What is going on? Oh, a mask, for God's sakes. All right. Let's auto group this. Boy, that was torture. Split hidden. All right. Eyes. For goodness sakes. Now we got this stuff here. Okay, so let's just bring this out a little bit. But I want this to feel already kind of like menacing as best I can anyway, before I do the mouth, because again, like if you have him look like, you know, like he's angry and then he's smiling, then it's okay. Then it feels like he's kind of like, you know, this kind of this kind of evil or, you know, villainous guy who's happy about his conquest. But if it's just a dude with a smile, he looks like, you know, he's just way too happy. So let's just kind of come here and again, come down to the lower subdivision level here. I want this to be more. The trick is just not to do too much that it messes up the Bellz shape, and it might. And then I have to kind of like adjust the eye parts here a little bit. But that's the issue with this here, I think, is this bell shape. It's very unforgiving when you start sculpting, because it needs to retain that roundness, that round form. So I need to kind of make sure that before I start like making it have an expression, that I kind of remember that. I feel like I just need to smooth part of this out a little bit here. And I think what I can maybe do is give him a lower lid too, like with that brush, to kind of compensate for that. I'm going on my J-cut brush really fast and just hold down Alt and just pull out a little bit of a ridge here. But I think I'm going to try the that scribe chisel brush here, and in this case I might bring it back to something like this. Actually, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I want to do it the other way. I'm going to kind of keep it like this, and then I'm just going to hold down Alt and bring this back this way. Let's turn off this. Yeah, I think that's workable. I just need it to be bigger. The problem with this is this like the bigger the curve, the less flexibility you have with it. Is this symmetrical? Yeah. I feel like it's not symmetrical. Let's just see. Yeah, okay. So what I think, let's see here now about bringing this little mouth in here. I'm not going to bend it yet, just because I want to see. And what I'd like to try and do here, if I can, is to get a little bit of a cheekbone as well, which I think could work. Kind of building that part out here a little bit. And that's what I want to try. I'm going to try, actually. I'm going to go with this guy too. I'm just going to fill it with this material because I think it's actually pretty cool like that. I'm going to see about bringing some material. And I think what I need to do with this mouth is give him more of a jaw. So maybe go to my trusty transpose tool here and bring that down. Okay, got my remove brush, turn on my radial. Told you a while back, right? This is going to be something I'm going to do a lot. I knew it. All right, that's better, I think. You'll note, by the way, that I have not saved yet. Probably do something like that at some point. So let me see about trying to get a little bit of like a cheekbony thing happening in here. I have to. I'm still messing around with this mouth. I don't think I'm going to be using that mouth in particular. I think I'm going to try something a little bit different. But I want to try about getting some sort of cheekbone in there. So I just want to see. Let's just see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this head. This might not work either, but I'm going to try it. Duplicate this head and go to a somewhat lower subdivision level. I'm just going to use the topology brush really fast to see if that will work. Let's go here to, something like this, and don't do that. Let's try that again. There you go. So all I'm going to do with this, and this looks stupid, I know, I'm aware, I know, stupid. What I want to do with this here is see about maybe somehow using this as kind of like a built out part. Now what I'm going to do here is going to turn off symmetry for a second. I told you in the beginning that there's going to be some fits and starts. There's going to be some starting and stopping, and I was not lying. So what I want to do here is turn off the friggin' mouth for a second. Is think about this as kind of like a part that's building out. And again, this might be kind of like a Boolean thing eventually, or a nothing thing if I don't use it, which is also very possible. I'm not going to lie. The idea here is that I might want to. Honestly, I don't really care about the back half of this. I'm going to end up deleting that back half and then just extruding it. I just want to get a certain shape here that might make sense. Trust me, this might work, or it might not. Again, why I said trust me. What the hell am I thinking? All right, so let's just come up here and let's just try to bring this up to right about here. Let's bring this to the side of the nose like so. Okay, so now we're going to Control-Shift-Tap to isolate this outside poly group. Delete hidden. And now it's going to extrude this back in a little bit and flip it so it's right side out. And now let's come in here really quickly and just Again, this is gonna look stupid for a little bit. It's okay. I want to make this shape, and I want to see how it looks as a shape. It might not end up looking like a good shape, in which case, then we'll just pretend it never happened, and I'll scrub it from the stream, and it was like it never happened. You won't remember it because I'll tell you it never happened, and you'll all believe it, and it'll be wonderful. But for now, I think if I did something like this, let's go here to my uh, dynamic subdivision. Let's kind of give ourselves a couple extras here. Right. Now, I definitely want to go here to the creasing here and bring that crease level down a little bit. Let's go back to the head and bring this way up. And let's just apply this for a second, and then let's just run. Let's see if I can polish this a little bit. You see, I'm just kind of messing around with giving this this bell kind of like almost like an armored thing happening here. Let's see about mirroring it. All right, and then if I bring in, again, I'm not using this mouth, but if I have some version of this mouth, this might make more sense. Like I said, this is one of those things where I'm not going to go by this jaw anymore. I don't think. Go away. What I might end up doing is something a little bit different with that. Go back to the head here. And because what I'm seeing in the Deadpool one, again, like I said, has a very different feel to it. And I kind of like that feel, which is basically just, it kind of mixes in with this part here. So I want to see if I can get that to do something. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to do a live Boolean, but I think it's just going to be a little bit of a simpler one. I'm not going to give him a smile. I'm just going to give him a frown, actually. Not really a frown, just kind of more of a trapezoidal thing. Yeah, I do that a lot, by the way. I try to move it, and I end up rotating it in a crazy way. Hi, bud. All right, I'm seeing something here, which is weird. Let's just get rid of this duplicate version. I'm going to do here, I'm not sure if it's just a matter of widening it in the back here, like this. What is... That's weird how I'm seeing that. Okay, well, odd. Let's widen this part here, I guess. Okay, that I think I can deal with here. And then I can maybe do something a little bit more around here, but I think generally speaking, that feels a little bit better. It's not great yet. I'm not loving every element of it, but this is reboot. See, this is where my lack of any cultural understanding is going to come back to come back to haunt me, because I don't know what some of these things are. Let's bring this whole guy down a touch here. All right. I think that I can kind of live with that. Again, obviously, what I want to try and do here is with this part, this is going to be a little bit weird. I'm going to try to do a, whatchamacallit, a remesh with this. So this here is, I'm going to kind of merge down. And so I'm going to try this. And again, who knows, man? Who knows? But we'll give it a shot. I'm going to do a quick Boolean out of this. And I'm going to see about actually kind of remeshing it. Because I would like to see if I can get that to feel like it's all part of the same thing, right? So let's just see. Let's just fill that really fast. All right. So this is 2.2 something million, right? So I'm just going to Control Tab to kind of hide, maintain that. And now I want to remesh this. I'll remesh this with half. And let's just see. Maybe I should do. You guys know better than I do, probably. Detect edges. Does that help? I don't know. We'll give it a shot. Remesh. I just want to see whether or not this can kind of turn this into something that kind of has a little bit of a something I can smooth in a little bit to kind of make these little raised parts feel, you know. I am an animator. An animator who probably needs to expand his cultural toolbox, because I really I don't know so much of this stuff. I can animate a walk cycle. Yeah, I can animate dancing robots like nobody's business. Okay, so oh geez. So let's just bring that in and see how this looks any better here. Let's come in here and just insert my little dude popped up here. This mouth I think I can get rid of because I think I'm going to use the basic one. And we're going to hide this. Oh, for God's sakes. Go, just go away. Okay. All right. And the good thing is this is a lot lower res, right? And it still feels decent. I think, and I can always project from history. I still have that history to project. I might do that just for the paint, if nothing else. But I want to get a little bit more of a brow here, if at all possible. So I'm going to subdivide this once, and again, I want to see if I can get that. I'd like to get that to come out a little bit here. So let's just see. I'm going to try to mask curve this a little bit here, about here. Boom. And what would happen? I'm going to pull that part out a little bit. And again, it's a little bit extreme, but I think that's an idea. I think that angle is weird. Are you still working on animation characters to start the B-side with? That animation has. The short answer is theoretically yes. I still like the idea of the short. I just like there are times when I don't necessarily enjoy the process of it because it's such a grind. Like you have to do every single thing. Like every single shot has to be set up and then lit and then rendered with different passes, and everything has to be animated and modeled and has to work well. And like when you have it when it's working well, it's kind of fun. And you start seeing it come together, and then what happens is it happens to me every time. You get to a point in the sequence in the animation and whatever it is that you're doing. You get to a point where it's not an exciting shot, and you're like, this part. And so like you kind of like put it off, where you do a little bit of it, but you're like, I just don't feel it. Like, I'm not feeling it right now. And then next thing you know, 6 months have gone by and you haven't worked on it for a very long time. And that's kind of where I am right now. It's just like a shot that I don't love, not because it's bad, just because it's not exciting. It's just, and the problem is, the problem is my humor when it, like, well, again, such as it is, you can call it. I mean, I think it's stuff is funny, but no one else probably does. But my humor is often, the stuff that I find the funniest is not actions. It's kind of like those little beats where the characters just kind of like look at the camera, like you can tell, like they're just thinking stuff. Like the stuff that I find it funny is not fun to animate. It's stuff that makes me laugh, in terms of like what you can imagine the character is thinking, but like they're quiet moments. And because of that, they're very frustrating and not very exciting to animate. They're subtle, and there's like a time. Like the hardest part for me, again, when you're animating, is not the timing of, say, a battle, like an attack, the timing of a run, because that's just physics. It's pretty much it's a regular, it's a regular up and down or gravitational pull, right? It's just gravity and weight. That's not tricky. What's tricky is how long it takes for us to think, how long it takes for us to kind of like mentally react to stuff. And unfortunately for me, the stuff that I find the most enjoyable and funny is those moments where you see the character mentally reacting to things. And that's also the least fun thing to animate, because it's just, there's not a lot of actual action. It's just a pause, like a pregnant pause, and that you expect the audience to get the joke that, oh, that's, and the problem is that, that is not, it's just, not only is it's not like it's not fun to animate, but it's so tricky, because there's like, the amount of time you think you need to have a character essentially sitting there doing nothing but thinking. Well, they can't sit there and do nothing, because that looks like a still frame. So like you have to animate someone doing nothing, but they can't be doing nothing, right? And that's just that's always to me the hardest thing, but it's also just it's the most frustrating thing, just because I'll kind of like this, like I'm sculpting this, I'm like, I know the proportions aren't right, but if I change the proportions, I gotta change everything, and that's kind of the same thing with animation. Like if you get the timing wrong, now everything has to get changed, and it's just, it's such a drag. So, long story short, it is there. It's probably one of those things. I think I started doing it over the summer, if I recall. Um, and it's better to do it over the summer because I have a lot more time. Whereas if I'm doing it during the school year when I'm teaching, and you kind of have to stop for several days, you really lose the flow. And the only hope my animations ever have of getting done is that there's enough of a 50 more shots to do. And that's often the problem, is that, like, there are so many shots to do, and each shot can be literally 2 seconds long, or a second and a half long or something. And it's not, it's just not, again, it's a grind. And you know I like the idea of doing it. I love it when it's done. I just it's not always a good time to do. So, long story short, yes, it is something I still want to do, because like, I put a lot of time into it. Of course, the animation I was working on before this one was one set in space that I worked on for about 4 years, and then abandoned because it was just taking too long. And I just, like, I can't. I just, so it's a, sometimes you end up just, like, having to say goodbye to your babies. And that's definitely the case here sometimes. I don't think it's, again, I think that I'm still going to do this one, but I don't even know what I'm doing right here. But I need to kind of get back into the flow, and I'm not in the flow right now. I will be, I think, but not during the school year, probably. I think I'm going to do another boolean here to kind of maybe cut into the sides a touch here. Again, I'm okay with this looking like this. I think this is going to be okay. Because again, you know, it's not just a head; it's a full body character. This is just kind of part of it. So this is one of those things where you don't want to lose the forest for the trees. You don't want to get so focused on this that you kind of like forget, oh yeah, there's other things going on with this character anyway. So I'm going to be okay with this, I think. I would like to do a little bit more of something on the side here. And again, I don't know what I want to do with this. It's one of those things, like I said, like I want to do something neat, but I don't want to do it just for the sake of doing something. And a lot of times that's what I end up doing. So I don't want to do that. I was thinking of having kind of like a, like just kind of like a little, you know, this something to kind of like emphasize this indentation thing. Maybe I'll even have it on top. I do like this kind of brush. I think this is kind of a cool brush. No, I kind of like this idea, to be honest. Just like a couple little bits here. The only issue, of course, is the end of these guys. Like it starts out of nowhere, basically, right? And that might not be a bad thing, but what I might need to do is go back to where it kind of starts thin and then ends thin, so that it doesn't feel like it's just got a random starting point. Now, I think I can go up a level, right? Yeah. Something. It's got to do something. These brushes are so cool though, because again, like they are still curved brushes, and you can get some really cool shapes with them. And you can still move them around and stuff like that, like while they're in curve mode, which is nice. Let's try to do another clay polish here. That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I've been using this chisel brush for like folds and clothes and stuff like that because again, I don't do them well, and the clay and this chisel brush tends to kind of do a nice job of like getting very simple, clean, chisel-y folds. So I love it for that. But this is actually kind of fun to do for this as well, like to kind of like work on like just these little raised areas here, which are kind of cool. Like they just give a little bit of visual interest to this character, you know, and they're not overdone. That was my issue, I think, with I wanted to kind of have something here, but I didn't want it to seem like it was just there for the sake of being there. And I think that this kind of stuff here, it's actually kind of neat. Like it does a pretty decent job. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. I don't think I want to do too much else with the this part here. Again, this part is a little bit weird, but I kind of like it. I think it just makes it seem like it's like built into the cheekbones here. You know, again, might just be trying to convince myself that I like it, but actually I think I'm okay with it. It's a weird look, but it's to do with a bell on his head. Maybe we'll be okay with that. So, but yeah, I don't think I want to do too much else with this brush. I think that it's really easy to get kind of like a little bit crazy with it, but yeah, maybe that. I like that. that's fine. All right, so we're gonna stick with that for now, right? And again, he's got in this Deadpool cover. I'm gonna bring it over here for a second. There's some stuff happening in the mouth here. I don't know what that is. But I kind of like the idea of there being something in there because this on its own just feels a little bit sparse, not sparse, sparse. You know what I'm saying? And it looks just like, again, it's fine, but I think maybe I'll kind of give him some sort of like, yeah, it is. It is very Doom. It is very Doom-esque, and that's the thing. Like Doctor Doom's mouth, I think is a little bit smaller. I think. Um, so like I think that like I might just kind of put something in there again, kind of like that picture I was just showing you with the one from Deadpool. There's just something in there. It kind of makes it seem like he's gritting teeth in some form or other. He's not, but he kind of he might be. He can seem that way, right? I know, Ram. I know. I know. Marikat's always in our hearts. I think it also will help, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. It will help when I put the little bell handle on top of his head. It'll help sell the bell, as the old saying goes. So let's do that. Now, what I think I might do, just am I going to do this? Am I really going to do this? Am I really going to do this, guys? Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. All right. What I think I might do, just for a little shift. You can do this in ZBrush too. ZBrush has a brush that does this. I want to use a curve and then just revolve it, right, to make the shape. I know the ZBrush has a brush that does this. I cannot figure out for the life of me how to use that brush because it doesn't seem like it wants to stay straight. Um, while Maya is opening and we have some time to ourselves, let me just come here and try it. But like, so I'm going to bring in a plane because in order for this brush to work, I think it needs to be like something I can drag it out. But there's a brush, and I'm sure you've seen it. Um, it's called Curve Lathe, right? And again, the way the brush works is you can kind of like come here and just drag out a shape, right? Like this. And then it will just draw it around, right? That's a really cool, it's a really good brush for this. And again, I guess what I said I couldn't get it to work. The problem I have is when I try and mess this, when I try and move the curve around, you see, you see how it goes all over the place. Is it maybe, do I have to like go up here and turn on lock start and lock end? Maybe is that why? Nope. So you see, there's a small error, small issue with this, right? Um, darn it. Okay, so yeah, if anyone knows how the heck this is supposed to work, yeah, help me out. But this is kind of a cool thing for this, right? But in Maya, again, I can just, I'm a little bit better at it. I put a crack in my man's face, Ram. Come on. No. All right, so I'm going to go to the front view here. And again, what I want this to look like, I don't know. Looking at the Deadpool one here, looking at the, let's go here. Let's cycle through. You'll note that I have a lot of, here's, yeah, see, like a lot of Howard the Ducks in here too. Um, and the reason I have that is because I have a plan to bring him into this scene. So this again, this kind of cool looking here. So all right, so I'm in Maya, and I know Blender has the same thing. I'm just going to create. I'm going to go with my curve brush here. I'm going to go with my regular old CV curve tool, and I'm going to just start here in the center. Hold down Shift so I can get a nice, nice little thingy here. Let me just go back to that picture so I can see what I'm working with here. Okay, so I'm going to hold it up, on it. Let's hold down Shift. Go give myself a couple more points here. And then I'm going to go like this, and then go up, up. All right, so basically, I'm just going to come up here and give myself this little. Maybe there. You can always change it after the fact, of course. I think that's too far along, actually. And let's go here, boom, and then up one, boom. Basically, I'm just like I'm like doing the equivalent of adding edge loops to retain my shape here. Wrong button. Wow, it's been a while. It's been too long since I've been in Maya. I'm using the wrong buttons here. All right, so basically I'm just drawing out a shape here. I'll hold down X and which in Maya land, holding down X and snapping will snap it to the grid. So now I have this shape. And now I'm going to go up here to surfaces and go to revolve. And it will revolve the surface a little bit. Battle damage. So, okay, yeah. So so here's my plan. Okay, so I will show you my plan and how Howard comes into play here. It's not too good for Howard, but what I got here? Okay, so just want to kind of bring that in. Maybe I'll just bring this whole thing out a little bit. You can see just doing a quick little thingy here, and let's take a look. Yeah, okay, so this is fine. This is a NURBS surface, right, which does not really work outside of Maya, I don't think. So I need to convert this, right? So let's go to modify, convert NURBS to polygons. Should be okay, tessellate. Let's see how that looks. I always forget what the settings are to do it well. Like that's not what I want. What the hell is that thing? That's because the whatchamacallit thingy, this guy, the settings to convert it were not correct. And I never remember what it's supposed to be. General? No, I think it's count. Yeah, but you know, let's give it more polys. There we go. Okay. I think I'm finally remembering this. It's been a while. Okay. So now this guy here was done. Is that really what it looks like? Yeah, kind of. All right. So let's give myself a few more points. What the heck? Why not? And now it's going to have a little ball at the top of it. Okay. So with regard to the Howard the Duck thing, so here's what I'm going to do. I have the sideshow He-Man statue, right? That I love. It's like one of my favorite ones I have. That and the Skeletor are both crazy awesome. I'm just trying to find a picture of it so I can show you, right? Yeah, so let's go to images here. Let's find him. Okay, so this is him right here, right here, this guy. And he's kind of standing with one leg up and he's raising his arm. So what I'm doing with Dr. Bong is he's going to be standing on Howard the Duck, and he's going to be raising that big club arm in the air. So basically, I'm ripping off this pose in a way. It's going to be reversed because Dr. Bong's club arm is the left arm, so he's going to be standing on Howard the Duck. Howard's not going to be dead. He's just going to have seen better days. He'll be momentarily losing. But that's kind of my plan for that. Just because who doesn't love Howard the Duck? So we have to have it. So this little guy here, pretty nice little thingy. Probably could have made it just as easily somewhere else, but that's okay. Get rid of this curve. Let's delete my history here for a second. Delete the curve. So, and again, I can do a little bit more in here. I can do it. I'm going to do most of it when I go into ZBrush. So let's just go ahead and export this out. This is definitely worth coming all the way into Maya for this. The trick thing is, Andrew, again, like there's always something in every sculpt I do. There's always at least one thing. There's usually several things, but there's always like one thing, especially, that I can't seem to get right. Now, I already had a little bit of issue with the face, but I knew that was going to be the thing. But it's always going to be something that like I felt like it shouldn't be as hard as it is. And I have a feeling it's going to be Howard's face, because he's got like a very distinctive face, as far as I can tell. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to mess it up. But so this here, I already kind of got ahead of myself a little bit on the pose for Doctor. I just love saying Doctor Bong. Doctor Bong. It's just so funny. But yeah, so I went and got that male pose base mesh rig thing that I put in the Discord cool art share. I put this file, this Maya file, just a rigged basic male shape, right? But he's somewhat bulky, and so he's good for kind of a superhero type thing or supervillain type thing. And Doctor Bong is actually pretty bulky, so this will work well for that. So I just brought this guy and I just did a quick little kind of like pose that's going to kind of be similar to what I'm doing with this, right? So when I bring once I kind of get the bell head roughly the way I like it, then I'm going to kind of bring it into ZBrush with this version of the base mesh, sculpt it Dr. Bongish, bring it in and basically plug it into this rig so I can get the pose. Then I'll send it back to ZBrush again. But because this is a very straightforward pose, not tricky, but again, the straightforward poses are often the ones that drive me the craziest because like there's something wrong and I can keep playing with this until I'm happy with it. So that's where I'm headed now. But where I am now is going back into ZBrush here, and we don't really need that. Okay, so let's go ahead and adjust this. Let's see, this is actually, okay. So one of the things that I think is probably a thing, and I could be wrong. Let's just do a quick save. I'm going to try something that's probably a really bad idea. Is Harry Potter in Marvel? You know what? He probably is, right? Because it's part of Disney now. Everything's probably Marvel at this point. Boy, that'd be interesting. How have they not had like a Marvel versus Capcom? Like how have they not had like a fighting game with just every? They probably do. I don't even know. But I'm gonna go here to Transpose Master really fast. I just want to see. Actually, let me just copy this tool here. Let me just. Is that how that works? Do I just copy this tool? Oh, I have these old ones. Let's get rid of the old ones here before I forget. But what I would like to do is, first of all, you know what? I haven't saved this at all yet. I should probably save this. Where's my Dr. Bong? Here we go. Okay. So Dr. Bong Bell. This is the bell. This is the bell. Okay, so let's go up here to my, I just want to try to mess around a little bit because right now it's like a perfectly, round bell. But I would kind of maybe like it if he felt like he had more of a forehead. So I'm going to go to my move infinite depth and just see if I can just kind of move everything forward a little bit like this, just to kind of make it look a little bit more like a face. I think one of the things that was really throwing me was the fact that the face was like very bell shaped to the point where it was kind of like angled back. And I don't think that felt right. So this feels a lot better. Like the forehead is jutting forward now, and I think it looks a little bit more menacing that way. I think that helps. So I'm going to stick with that. I like that version better, I think. All right, so there we go. So let's bring in that handle, right? So I'm just going to come here to insert some random shape, and then import my bell handle. It's a little bit big. It's a little big. It's a little big. Bring that down. Now, again, I do have a little bit of artistic license here, I think. So the question is, do we want this bell handle to be like abnormally large? And I think the answer is yes. I think that we want the bell handle to be quite large. I mean, when you think of your average bell, if it has a handle, it's pretty long. It's pretty much like it's like half the height of the bell. So I think that we owe it to ourselves and to posterity to make this bell handle very, very long. And let's come in here and make sure that we don't lose our edges. So I'm just going to do a quick little crease as we complete. I think I mentioned in previous streams that I'm not a fan of creasing. I feel like it doesn't feel like it's enough, but it is. Gus, never underestimate the importance of what we're doing here. I mean, at some point, people will look back and wonder why, and we have to make sure that there's no doubt. It's because someone needed to do this, dude. I feel like this one shouldn't be here. So I'm just going to get rid of this edge because it was causing an issue. Much better. And let's go here to our gold. I guess it's gold in the thing, so we'll make it gold in the thing here too. Fill that. Now, what I think I might do, because I can't help myself, let's get a little bit fancier. So what I'm going to do is, let's come here to right about, don't do that. I'm going to come here is right about, say, here maybe? Maybe I'll add one right in the middle. I don't know. Actually, I'll do it right here, I think. I'm going to go here and I'm going to bevel this edge. Just bevel it to get myself a nice little edge loop, nice little group there. Yeah, Orlando, what's up, man? So usually when Orlando is here, usually that means, oh, am I almost done? Because that's how Orlando's like my alarm clock. So I'm going to bevel this thing here, and I'm going to extrude this out. So I'm going to extrude this poly group out a little bit. And see, the problem with that when you do that, though, it kind of goes out on an angle, and I don't love that. So I'm going to Control-Shift-Click to isolate this group here, just this guy. Move tool, center it, and just nudge it down a little bit. There you go. Just nudge it down a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to have a little bevel right here, a little bevel right there. Now I'm going to start adding a couple of little edge loops here. I could crease, but sometimes old habits die hard, and I don't use creasing if I can help it. So I'm going to come in here. I want to add a couple of edge loops here to retain that shape. So now when we, get a nice little, just a little fancification, I think we needed. Yeah. You know what? I mean, why not? Let's just add a little more. I know. That's what I was going to say. Like when I saw that you were here, I was like, my God, is it 8 o'clock already? But no, I still have plenty of time to mess this up. So that's good. I need all the time I can get for that. If you're going to do something bad, you got to do it right. Let's go to my little bevel here again. I love my favorite thing. I love to bevel and then extrude. And then you just get little ridges, little indentations, little thingies, So I'm going to protect those two edges and then extrude that down a little bit. I could bevel these edges, but we're going to subdivide it anyway or smooth it, and it'll get smooth-ish that way as well, so it's all good. So I just want to have a little hint of, just some little indentations here because it's a fancy bell. Now it needs to have that sphere on top, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's bring in our sphere. Oh, there we go. I have symmetry on? Do I have symmetry on? I don't have symmetry on. Okay, it wasn't working. That was weird. Now it works. Who knows why? All right, I'm gonna bring in my sphere. And bring it down. Now look at that. How is that not symmetrical? Like what is even happening here? That's okay. There we go. That is a bell top, a bell ringer. I'm going to go here and I'm going to let's just do this. Let's come here. Let's polygroup the flat island really fast. That way I can just bring that down a little bit. I just want to make sure there's no gaps. And then I'll just get rid of this edge loop here, which we don't need anymore. Right. I just want to kind of make sure that it completely, encompasses the head. This is so stupid. I love this. Okay, so we're not even close to being done. Obviously, I don't know why I'm getting into paint mode, but I do think that some part of this bell needs a little bit of goldening up, I think. Move that into the orange just a little bit, a little bit brassy in there, a little bit of brass in there. Same idea here. Just kind of get a little bit of this. Oh, Orlando, you are going to be so sorry you asked. Okay, so this guy, Dr. Bong, he was an investigative journalist who then, as many of us do, left the journalism field to become a genius scientist who then created this Bell helmet after losing his left hand in a punk rock band accident. Yes. And what we now know, and this is again, I'm reading this from the official Marvel site here. So this is the official Marvel Dr. Bong site. So let's learn together, shall we? Let's learn about Dr. Bong, because the matter of fact way in which they say these things just make me laugh. So okay, yeah, he was he was a journalist. Okay, so okay, here he was. So he was doing an expose on a punk rock band, and then he ended up losing his hand by a prop guillotine. Underneath the prop bells, which I guess we're just supposed to assume they were there, his actual name was Lester Verde. Verde's sanity snapped, and he decided to become a supervillain, just like that. Like just right on, it's what happens. Your hand gets cut off. You look up, you see bells, and you think, I know. Well, you can't snap, I suppose, because your hand is. You think, I know, supervillainy. And then it says Verde somehow acquired a superb physique, mastery of sonic and genetic engineering, and an elaborate headquarters and other scientific resources. The word somehow is doing an awful lot of work in that sentence. He somehow didn't, again, we're not saying he somehow acquired an old Volkswagen. He somehow acquired a superb physique, mastery of sonic and genetic engineering, and an elaborate headquarters and other scientific resources. I guess he just ordered it from Amazon. But so I just, I mean, it is, yeah, again, you have to give him credit, though. I mean, the dude has a bell on his head, and he calls himself Dr. Bong. It is truth in advertising. It'd be like Wolverine calling himself Captain Snicked, right? Like that, it makes sense. Or, I don't know, Nightcrawler being Admiral Bamf. That'd be a cool name. I'm just saying. Anyway, so yeah, then he became kind of a weirdo. He got obsessed with Howard the Duck's girlfriend, and did of course what all supervillains do, is just kidnap. But eventually he had kids, apparently. Oh no, the woman made infant clones. Huh. But eventually he came back as a psychologist and then was Deadpool's therapist. In other words, he's multifaceted. He does a lot of things, Orlando. You can't pigeonhole him by saying what is he like. What is he does everything. He's a Renaissance belle. All right. So anyway, long story short, he does a lot. He does a lot. He does a lot of things. I'm going to mess around really fast just because I can't help myself. I'm going to just like do this kind of like weird little bell thing. Where like, you can see here, he's got like kind of like this reflective things happening here. So just to see how it looks, I'm just going to come in here with my, again, I've a pretty pretty high resolution mesh, is like 4 million points. That's why the mass curve tends to be a little bit like, has some issues. And so I'm just going to like do a little bit of this, invert this, and let's just throw black in there. Like, like, oh, it was at the 48%. I was wondering what was going on. There we go. So just to kind of get like, a little bit of that bell reflective thing. I don't know why I'm doing that. It's the bell of the ball. I see again. He is a polymath. It makes see again. We have to credit where it's due. See, oh sure, you can say bell of the ball, but I can't say Bellz-a-Poppin. I mean, come on, double standard if you ask me. Because Bellz-a-Poppin was, I was proud of that. 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 I was proud of that I mean, to be clear, I probably shouldn't be as proud of it as I was. Sure, the argument could be made. It might. Well, again, we've already established, though, Jackie, that I have no cultural knowledge. I think Bellz-a-Poppin, isn't that like from like 1950 or the 40s or something like that? So now I'm showing my age. But anyway, I don't know why I'm doing this. This is just for goofs. But we can always kind of like, whatchamacallit, we can always undo this. But there we go. We gave him some little refractions or whatever. Okay, so what I would like to do again, one last thing, I think, for the face, like I mentioned, I want to do something with the mouth. It's just it's a little too empty for me, so a little something would be good here. And I don't know if I might just kind of give him metallic looking teeth. Is it a Busby Berkeley musical? Okay. See, good. See, I don't know where I gleaned that term from, but that must be okay. That was where it comes from. That makes sense because I do love musicals. I'm gonna undo these little things I just did. All that time I spent making these things, and now I don't need them. Actually, I kind of like that. It's pretty neat, but that's okay. So, actually, what I'm going to do is, do I have symmetry on? No, good. I'm just going to keep it on one side because I kind of did like that a little bit, like that. There you go. Okay. Anyway, so thank you, Jackie, for letting me know because it was going to drive me crazy. I knew it was a thing. I've used that term several times, usually in the service of a joke that only I found funny, and now I know why because it was a niche reference. So for the again, I might just do something that kind of looks like teeth, or just kind of like a grill, maybe. I think maybe a grill could be kind of cool. I don't know if that's going to work or not. But I have grills. I have them here. So let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to I have to make this into a 3D thing. I'm just going to go here and I have my move tool, right? And then you go to your insert brush. And if you have your move tool active, with your insert brush, you can just swap out shapes. And I believe I have kind of like insert sci-fi stuff. And the part of the sci-fi things might be grills. So let's just see. I mean, there's a fence, but that's not really what I'm going for. Chainmail, not what I'm going for. Oh, you know what I can just use? I could always just use, what's that stuff called? Micro mesh? Mini mesh? Tiny little mesh? I think tiny little mesh would be the best way to go about calling it. These are panels which are not really what I'm talking about, though. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? I do have, I think of OBJ files. Mr. Incredible. See, that's the thing. I had it. We started earlier, and it looked like he had a kind of that grin. It looked a little. I mean, again, it's a sliding scale here. I'm going to say he looked a little ridiculous, but we're going to pretend that there's a way in which a man with a bell on his head doesn't look ridiculous. I know it's a little bit of a stretch. Wow, that's a cool pouch. I'm sorry, I didn't know I had that. All right, so you know what I can do? Let's try this. Let's go here with this grid, with this plane, and then reconstruct the subdiv to a very low, kind of like maybe like that. And let's just see if there is something like this. So if I go here to dynamic subdiv, dynamic, turn off smooth, then go to micro poly. See, micro mesh is one of the older ones. Okay. Is there something here that kind of feels, it could be bell-like? I don't want it to look like it's woven. Like it's not a woven thing. I want this to be kind of more, metallic-y feeling. Let's try. This might not be so bad. No, I don't like that. I can tell I don't like that. I think you're right, Ram. I think. I mean, I think they kind of need to look like teeth, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not feeling any of these for that part of his mouth. Canvas is not really what I'm going for. Armor plate, but hmm, 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 hmm. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I mean, it can't hurt to try, I suppose. I don't think I'm going to like this, but it can't hurt to try. I don't think that they are directly editable. I would imagine. It's a good question. I think that when you go here to that micro mesh, let me see something. If I tap on this, okay, so there's no importing. There's no import button, but I wonder if it's a folder that we get this stuff from, right? Because there's got to be a folder. I would imagine that we're getting these objects from. So I wonder about that. That's a good question because I don't know for sure. Is it a folder here for one of these things? Because I would imagine, because I know that we used to have, I don't know if they still have micro mesh, which was slightly different. And there was like a folder of micro mesh objects, and that was useful. But I don't know where they might be anymore. I thought they were under tool, but I don't see a micro mesh folder anymore. Hmm. Well, this is interesting because let's see if they're in here. There's nano meshes, array meshes. I don't see any, but like, yeah, it's a good question because I thought there. I mean, again, back when we had micro mesh, and I don't know if we even have that anymore. Well, again, this is micro poly. Micro mesh was a different thing, which was something that you did at render time, right? If I recall correctly. And then you could at render time you could kind of like convert it to geometry or something like that. And I think that might have been. I'm guessing. I have to imagine it's still around somewhere. If I go up to render, let's see if my render properties, because there was a micro. Yeah, there is a draw micro mesh. So okay, so micro mesh does still exist, but I have no recollection of how to do it. Like, oh, here it is, micro mesh right here. Okay, so micro mesh, and then you can choose. So long story short, I know that micro mesh, which is a little bit different, I think, in terms of how you apply it than dynamic subdivision stuff. I think it works pretty much the same way. It still replaces each face with an object. So those are editable, right? I could import anything and use that as micro mesh. And that would be something that it's a per polygon replacement, as you said. So when you render it out, you would see, at render time, it would turn into that. And then it would show that. It wouldn't actually be that. And then I think you would do something like convert to mesh, like it's somewhere. When you have that micro mesh on and then you render it out, there was a button that says convert render to mesh or something like that. But yeah, I mean, because it's weird because again, there used to be a folder I thought for micro meshes, and I don't see where that is anymore. I mean, I'm sure it's there. I'm sure I'm just missing it, but yeah, it's weird. It's been a long time since I've used it. I think mostly because the micro poly has kind of like done a lot to kind of make that no longer as necessary. I don't know, guys. I kind of dig this. I kind of dig this kind of like something like that. I mean, it's not perfect, but I kind of like the way that looks. I don't know. I kind of like it. I think I'm gonna stick with that. So let's just go here and turn this off here. Let's see. Basically, I'm just going to get rid of all the faces that I don't need. Let's just delete hidden and then bring that back. I mean, I think that's actually not a bad. Actually, doesn't look so bad. I kind of like that, to be honest with you. Like it's one of those things where you probably don't want to look too closely at it, but I think it's pretty cool. I think that I do want to maybe, I mean, I am going to need to do some adjustments because none of it's really touching. But that's something you can definitely do um, once you once you convert it. Or I could also do, this is even easier. Let's do this. Let's hide those. Let's do split hidden. So now I have that, and now I go back to this one, and I'm just going to flip this, right? Um, so that now we have it kind of like that, which makes, I think, more sense as kind of like the teeth kind of like angled in like that. But this was actually, yeah, this actually, I think this actually works. I'm actually kind of digging this. Um, I don't know how much of this is me just trying to convince myself, but I really do think that's kind of neat. It doesn't, I mean, again, does it make sense that a former journalist, now Bell helmet wearing mega criminal, has these little tabs as teeth? No, but it makes just as much sense as that guy wearing a bell on his head. So I think that we can work with that. Um, so I'm sticking with it. I want to see though. Maybe just change the color. Maybe make this like it's like a darker color, so it's not quite so like out in our face. Oop. Just to kind of give it a little bit different color. Okay, so this is a lot of stuff just to make a bell-headed person. But I feel like we needed to kind of like try out some different things here. I'm actually, what I'm most happy about is the use of that chisel brush. I think that really kind of opens up some cool ideas for sculpting things that need to have like really clean raised edges. Oh, that's okay. I appreciate it, Bloodshot Mid. Nothing works for promoting me. I've tried. Exactly, Jackie. This was, again, if nothing else, right? If this works out, imagine a shelf that has Jack of Hearts, Paste Pot Pete, the Eraser, and Doctor Bong on it. Like that's, I mean, you look at that, and then you look at a shelf with like Magneto, Wolverine, and Colossus. You're like, you know what? I'm going to have to go with Doctor Bong. Just my opinion. But I think, yeah. So I think this is a good start. So probably again, like what I'll end up doing in between now and the next thing is just I was going to take the generic male mesh and just bulk him up roughly into Dr. Bong's proportions, and probably put him in the pose or whatever. But maybe I'll put him in the pose when I come back next week. But all I'm going to do in between, I think, is just get the proportions blocked out. Then we'll have a little fun, I think, sculpting Dr. Bong, the rest of Dr. Bong next week. But yeah, I think this will work as a head. It's a little bit goofy looking. It feels like it kind of fits with the different versions that I've seen. It's not any one of them, obviously. Honestly, if I tried to do this head, I don't think I'd be able to. This one looks really creepy, and I kind of dig it. But I think it's really being helped out by the angle, and the fact that it's drawn and not sculpted. But again, I think that this is a ridiculous looking character, which means I love this character, and I can't wait to make him stand on Howard the Duck in the coming weeks, and that'll be a fun print. So yeah, I'm actually like to see how this turns out, because I have no idea whether or not this is going to make any sense at all. He seems like a character from The Tick, honestly, which makes me love him all the more. So next, again, in between now and next week, I'm just going to bulk up that generic dude, so that we can kind of get starting with the cape and the arm stuff and the boots and stuff like that, so we can have a little fun, and then we'll work on Howard the Duck after that probably. So that will be next week and following. That'll be really kind of a great time. So again, thanks so much, guys, for hanging out with me tonight. I'm gonna call it a night because I'm getting a little old and tired. But next week we're back with Dr. Bong. Again, thanks again for everything, fellas. Thanks so much for helping me out and for giving me some ideas for this guy too. It really worked, really helped a lot. So I'll be seeing you next Thursday. Thanks again.